we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means, on infiltration instead of invasion, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. There is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it.
All right, welcome to episode 70, round 2 of the Abuse Hour. It is I, your host, Coffee Long, coming to you unsupervised, unmedicated, and an unchecked threat to society. Rolling semi-hard this time in the Mobile Doomsday Studio. Gonna try again to record this thing, man. I started talking and then I had like a little alarm that I had set go off, and then it killed my recording. Then everything just fucking nuked, and now here we are. Here we all are, starting over again. In any case, just as well, because the first time always fucking sucks. And there's plenty of weird enough shit going on out there. We can go over it real quick, man. It was only like 2 or 3 minutes. I'm being a douche about it. But anyways, today I wanted to get a quick couple words in on the Dark Brandon State of the Union speech, and in true Dark Brandon form, man, medicated to his fucking eyeballs, saying shit that he won't remember later. I want to hit a little bit on some shit that came up. I ain't gonna bore you with any of my personal shit, too much, but some shit did come up, and it brings to mind something that I think needs to be discussed on the drug abuse. And then last, I got a little bit of a white pill that I want to share with you, just from a kind of a statistical perspective. But first, I want to revisit this Aaron Bushnell situation, this do-it-yourself sidewalk barbecue situation, and kind of drive a point or two home. And again, at risk of dragging this conversation out any longer than it needs to be fucking drug out, I wanted to revisit this, one, to kind of make some of this all very clear, but two, to kind of shed a different light, offer a different perspective. I listened to a podcast that got put out by this military dude, former military dude, that does like a kind of a libertarian constitutionalist or whatever the hell they're calling themselves now, with like, oh, he's a black dude, but he's my brother. Like, yeah, okay, we'll see if he feels the same way if shit kicks off. Whatever you want to tell yourself till then. The dude did have a good take on this situation vis-a-vis the commies amongst us. And commie, he appears to have been, like this guy, Aaron Bushnell, appears to have been neck deep in the Antifa, Marxist, pro-tranny, all that bad noise type scene. And, while that already, like any take this guy has, you tell me fucking it's raining, take an umbrella, I'm going to be suspect because I know who the fuck you are. Yeah, I will say, like, yeah, you don't dig Gaza being genocided. Okay, well, on the surface, I think, we're at a spot where if you're Israel, you're in a tight spot. Like, let's not bullshit each other. Israel is in a tight spot, because you've got literally everyone from gays, trannies, drug users, to constitutionalists, to libertarians, to all-purpose patriotards, to all the way over where we're at, and the far-right extremist bunny ears types, all saying that they do not approve. Okay, well, that's a rough deal for Israel, and sure to at some point throw a wrench into their gears. But I think we have to ask why. Like, somebody says, oh, I disapprove. Okay, well, yeah, but why? Okay, if you say like, oh, I disapprove because you're making that land unusable for the next 10 years, and how am I going to ever turn a profit when shit's all blown up? Okay, well, yeah, we agree this shouldn't happen, but we agree for very different reasons. If you disagree because, people of color have been marginalized for too long, and these white Israelis are, wait, no, no, we're not doing that, okay? If you want to say that, oh, well, it's the only democracy in the Middle East, this Israel, and they're our allies, and it makes us look bad. No, we're not doing that. All right, so the why does become very important. You know, and I'm not saying that we're being picky here either. Like, well, yeah, you can agree with me, but you have to agree for the right reason. Well, no, because we're only agreeing on this very narrow stretch of land, and it's not going to be too long before we're at odds again. And that's where I think we find ourselves with this Aaron Bushnell character. So I wanted to bring this up, one, because there was some, well, not so much discussion, but it had come up, and I had to have some time to think through some of this that, like, yeah, because I have heard it in our circles, among some people that are considered bigger players. Your striker was jockeying for this guy. Mike Painovich was jockeying for this guy that, like, no, if you really want to piss off the Israelis, you want to piss off these Jews, what you do is you talk about what a hero this guy is. That's how you really piss him off, You say he's amazing, he's incredible, so brave. I'm like, yeah, that's a fucking cute take and everything, and a funny haha, like I jerked your chain on this, but I think, honestly, dude, we don't give ourselves enough credit for the sway that we hold, man. And yeah, we don't have money, we don't have power, but check it out, they're still fucking scared. Because one, we're capable, and two, we're fucking right. Because we work from a position of truth. Like, what is the fucking fact of the matter? And when we look at the facts of the matter, every time, their arguments crumble like a house of fucking cards. And here we fucking are, talking about it, that, like, yeah, you want all this shit, you want all this imagination land shit, but without us, you are fucked. All right, so looking at this Bushnell situation, yeah, okay, you don't like what's going on in Gaza. Hey, fucking neither do I. Neither does pretty much everybody, except people with the tiny hats that are somehow going to turn a profit out of this thing. That doesn't make you my fucking pal. All right, and people talk about, don't joke, bro, like he showed incredible resolve, bro, and he was fucking brave, bro, and this and that fucking bro. All right, so from the top, man, let me fucking hit it this way. This dude had a wife and kid that he fucking abandoned. All right, this guy blew off his fucking wife and kid so he could go and do whatever the fuck he was doing before he did this shit. But what this does, man, like, this step one to me, like, you blow off your wife and kid, and even if they got divorced and, like, he was totally alienated and she had fucking brainwashed this kid to hate him, doesn't fucking matter, man. A lot of guys have fucking gone through that, and the fucking rule of the road is, like, you gut it out, because once again, the truth will fucking come out eventually. And when that kid finds out that, like, yeah, mom, you fucking did me like this, you jammed me up like this, so that just because you're mad at dad, this is fucking bullshit, and they're going to hold that fucking grudge. The truth will fucking come out, man. And I don't know that that's the case with this guy. I don't know that I don't know what the fuck his deal was. But if you're going to fucking walk away from your own flesh and blood in the interest of somebody on the other side of the planet, that's fucked up. And you can point the finger right away and say, well, wait, weren't you in the military? Didn't you leave wife and kid at home to go to the other side of the planet? Yeah, I did, dude. And I'll look back now and say that was a stupid fucking idea, because the people we were over there beating up on, like, they were no fucking threat to what was going on here. And I'll come to more of that in a minute, because some of that shit actually came up this week. But this guy, though, talking about, like, oh, the martyrdom, the this shit, that shit. When you talk about the idea of martyrdom, typically this is a situation where you have no other choice, right? Like, I think we've all seen the meme where it's like the masculine urge to tell everybody else to get to safety as you fight off the zombie horde, right? Knowing that you're going to fucking get it. Right, but what that means, though, essentially, like the undertone of that meme, if you will, is that if everybody tries to run, everybody dies. All right, and then maybe, your wife, your kid, your family, your neighborhood, whatever it is, maybe they make it to safety, but if they stay and fight, they definitely die. If everybody's here, people are going to fucking die. Whoever's here dies. But you can give them that slim, slim chance if they go a-running and you stay and fight off the zombie horde, right? So, I mean, again, speaking purely in the memetic, situation scenario here, right? But what you're saying, though, here is, like, think it through here, man. Like, let us suppose that your wife and your notional daughter, they run and they get to the next neighborhood, they escape to safety. You're never going to be there to help raise that kid. You're not going to be there to talk her through difficult times. You're not going to be there to help your wife out, do all this shit that a wife has to do. You're not going to be there for any of that shit, all right? Because you're going to stay here and fucking die. But the trade-off here is that you staying here fighting off the zombies is the only fucking way that they even get a crack at that. Now, they could run to the next town, they could run over the next hill and get devoured by different zombies. That's a maybe, all right? That's a maybe. It's still on the table, but this right here is a definite, and that's why you make this choice. All right, so that choice, that kind of martyrdom choice, that kind of hang your ass out for your family, for your people, that's a very, very different scenario than like, I'm going to just walk out here and light myself off to get what? To get attention? Like, did that guy doing that shit increase anybody's chances of anything, anywhere? Like, fuck no, really. I mean, if anything, it's like he probably got like a laugh from like, what do the people in the fucking Israeli embassy do? Like, they look out there and they're just like, look at this fucking asshole. Like, why don't more of them do this, huh? Oy vey, what if they all did this? That would be fucking hilarious. Oh, you changed my mind, Goy. I'm doing something different now. Oh, good, I'm convinced. All right, but that didn't fucking happen. I mean, dude, if you think about this, this is sort of like, you know, if like, I don't know, some chubby girl insists on you going out with her. And you're like, no, thanks, I'm good on this. And she's like, what? You're discriminating against big-bodied girls, and I think it's unfair. And then she brings it back to like the big girl coalition, and then some member of the big girl coalition lights herself on fire, like outside your place of business. And she's like, you're not treating fat girls fairly, date fat girls, and lights herself on fire. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, is this going to change how you do business? Like, no. Probably not. I'm going to just kind of, I'll just use the service entrance in back because I don't want to have to step over this giant heap of fucking ashes. Right? I mean, and I ain't trying to be fucking weird about it. It's just that, like, you're not doing something anybody gives a shit. Like, maybe this would matter if in some way Israel viewed you as a fucking commodity or anybody viewed you as a commodity. Right? Israel ain't fucking wringing their hands like, oh shit, what are we going to do without another American military dude? What is the world going to do without another white dude? Oh God. Like, that's why they're fucking importing your replacements, dickhead, because they want you gone anyway. They don't give a shit. And as for the rest of the world, they already think that this is bullshit. I haven't met anybody that's like, yeah, Gaza, fuck them. I haven't ever met anybody that talks like that. I mean, I go out of my way not to interact with the Semitic crowd, but just the same, like, I've never met anybody that's like, Israel, I think they're probably in the right here. I've never met a person in real life that thinks like that. Everybody I've ever talked to is like, yeah, this is pretty fucked up. So who the fuck are you convincing? Initially, then, it seems pretty easy to, like, write this guy off as just a complete fucking nutcase. However, like, the take I heard a couple days ago offered a kind of a different perspective, and it brought up something that I had seen before that I thought really warranted, us kind of keeping in our back pocket. Because the only two takes I've heard on this guy so far is that, like, well, the guy is brave and doing this shit for a cause, and really that seems to come from more, even among our thing, is like, comes from like the Eric Stryker, like people who come from that tanky side of the house, right? From that, like, former Marxist sympathies side of the house, that they could see this kind of thing and somehow see value in it. People that even entertain that, they seem to come, originally from that side of the house, even when they're among, within our thing. But then the other side of it is like what you see among like the patriotards and constitutionalists that, like, what a fucking retard. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what a fucking joke. Yeah, you're just crazy. Fuck them. Like, just ignore them. But this take I heard the other day, it was pretty fucking interesting, and I think it warrants repeating, honestly. I want to preface this by saying, like, we're all, I think all, if you're listening to this probably anyway, familiar with the idea of the kosher sandwich. And that is that, like, we all understand that, like, Marxism, Bolshevism, that this is, even by their own admission, this is a very Jewish ideology. And the idea here is that, hey, we all put in and then we all take out equally. It's a group effort. But what they're not telling you is that they've always got some kind of a little mechanism where what they need and what they take out of this group effort is always going to be a little bit more than they put in, and that you eventually are going to just come away with fuck all. Not to get too far in the weeds with it, but the way you can think of it is, when you learn about leverage and gears and this kind of shit, like in high school, and they talk about, like, if you've got like a teeter-totter, right, and there's like half a pound over there, and now on the other side is going to be half a pound that comes out. And then you learn the idea of, like, if you've got a pulley But then you've got it where it's like a moving pulley system, a way where like you can reduce the effort that has to be put into moving a thing by hooking it to a block and tackle, right? And the idea is that you would put in like a pound worth of effort and you're going to get double that out of it. But the problem, like the kind of hiccup there, is you only get half of the work done, right? You're only going to move it half as far. So like hypothetically, you're trying to hoist a thing up and you're going to move it half as far as you would putting in that whole pound of effort. And it's the same thing with gears, right? Like that gear to work ratio. In a mathematical sense, you can get where you're like, yeah, I make one revolution here, I get one there, but then I add this gear and I get one revolution here and I actually get two over there. And in a purely mathematical sense, it all reduces down to where all of these things come out equally. But what they don't really talk about so much is the energy that gets lost with the more gears and pulleys and shit that you put into a system. And that, for my money, is what these tiny hats will do to any government organization, because they come in and it's like, hey, if we all put in $1,000, then we all have, this much to divvy up. And if somebody comes up a little short in one area, then we can help them. And if somebody can go a little more in this area, then when they need help, we can help them out. That's all well and good, except when Shlomo comes with the idea that like, okay, well, that's good, except we need somebody to manage this mechanism. And then when we get enough people managing the mechanism, we need people to manage the managers. And then we need somebody to report to the boss on how the whole thing's going. And if it's not efficient enough, we need somebody else to look for a more efficient way. So there, I've got all these mechanisms, all these extra gears in the machine. But now when you get this giant machine, all these extra gears that honestly don't do shit, all they really do is bleeding away that energy, bleeding away that fucking money that you've been pumping in. And that's how Shlomo comes up with like, well, look, it's just the nature of the machine, Maybe if you put a little more in, and then we hire a few more people, and then we find a kind of a solution, and by then they're packing their shit and they're on the way to the next victim. In the Bolshevik sense, I don't think we get enough appreciation of how much, because when we look at capitalism, we say, at its heart, it's a kosher operation. All right. The idea here is that you're finding a way to fuck over and take advantage of your fellow man. That like, hooray for me, fuck everybody else. Yeah, I got mine. Fuck you. And if you want to get a piece of this action, and then, when you're like, man, this is kind of fucked up. They're like, no, dude, this is freedom, bro. It's freedom. You're free to fuck me over if you can. Oh, I guess, I'm a little better at this than you. So you're really shit out of luck. We all understand that real well. We understand the effects of all of the corporations are going to group up on you and all their little tiny hats are going to crush whatever you try to do. And they're going to say, oh no, bro, sorry, it's freedom. It's a market economy. It's the invisible hand. It's the market demand, and you're shit out of luck. Sorry, too fucking bad. And we understand that to be half that kosher sandwich. But while we understand the Bolshevism, that Marxist attitude, that collectivist approach to be the other half of it, I don't think we appreciate well enough, like just how can you say predatory this mechanism is. The free market thing, the capitalist thing, I think it works well against intelligent people, because intelligent people will look at it and say, well, look, if I can build a better mousetrap, I want to be able to take the fruits of that better mousetrap. And then in a free situation, I don't want to look at somebody else and say, well, hey, man, the fruits of your better mousetrap, you need to be kicking in. You need to give something back. We need to have something to regulate. We don't want to do that because we assume that everybody else is throwing straight dice like us. And then it's only too late that the smart people figure out that like, oh, you were kind of coming at this not from the perspective of building better mousetraps, but from the perspective of making sure that I can never build any mousetraps. And that if I ever try to build a mousetrap, then, you're going to take all my fucking fruits of my labor and the rights to my mousetrap and throw me in a fucking cell. Oh, I get it now. All right. We understand that side well enough, but we don't understand, and us in our thing, I think we really don't understand enough of the mechanism of the Bolshevism, the Marxism type approach. We don't appreciate it. We don't understand it because we don't look at the world in that way. And what I think you see is that this mindset, this collectivist approach, like for one, it hinges primarily on everybody is more important than me. If I make everybody else the priority instead of myself, then things are going to work. And from their perspective, that works out for a few reasons. Because one, this really, it really preys on weak people. I mean, that's the only way to say it. It preys on the weak and the stupid. So when weak people, and you see this with the fat blue hairs, with the fucking skinny boys, and they're like, no, I'm a commie bro. I'm a communist bro. Fucking red strength bro. Fucking, you know, all this shit. Power to the people, bro. When they can come from the perspective of I'm putting all my effort and all my resources into the people, into the machine, into the mechanism, into my fellow man, then they have an excuse to walk out there and be weak and be poor and be fucking pathetic. And you're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Well, I make everyone else the priority. That's what I'm doing. That's why I'm like this. Okay, it gives them an easy out. But you can only go so far down that fucking road, man, of saying that everybody else is the priority. The group is the priority. The greater good is the priority. Because the question, and this was something that got brought up. See, I think these, you know, again, too much credit. I think we give too much credit to these tiny hats. They do work together well, but I think they work from the perspective of I'm just here to destabilize. I'm here to throw a wrench in whatever the fuck you're doing. And they all go about it differently. In the end, it all comes out the same. Like whatever you're trying to do, they're going to fuck it up. They're going to find a way to make a profit off of it. But they don't always come at it the same way. So if you've read any of this Ayn Rand, and I read a lot of that shit, like that was really part of my little gateway in here that like everything doesn't have to be as stupid as it is. But it didn't take me that long to realize that like, well, really, this is just the opposite side of the coin. Because one of her initial tenets was, well, when you say the greater good, at what point does it stop being me and start being the greater good? Because if it's just me individually, I could say, okay, well, yeah, only I am profiting off this. I need to start looking out for everybody else. All right. Everybody else like my immediate family? Oh, no, that's still sort of an extension of just yourself. Okay, well, how about the people in my neighborhood? No. That's still just, I mean, those are your close personal friends. And, you know, a better neighborhood for you is really just benefit for you. So you're really just looking out for yourself. It needs to be the greater good. Okay, well, like at what point does it become greater good? All right. And in their mindset, it really starts becoming greater good when it stops benefiting you at all. When you realize zero benefit. And their idea is that bullshit story about like, I think they try to say it's like some Chinese communist fucking story of like a guy dies and he gets to see hell, and it's people with like to their hands are affixed these giant chopsticks, like a giant chopstick on each hand. And they're trying to feed themselves at this table, but they can't because the chopsticks are too long and it won't fit. But then he gets to look at heaven, and it's the same thing where people have a giant chopstick attached to each hand, but instead of trying to feed themselves, they're feeding the person across the table. Look, bro, I feed you and you feed me. And besides being just kind of a gay fucking story, right? The idea here is that, you know, you pay no attention to yourself. You only focus on your fellow man. And if everybody gets on this fucking page, well, then everything's going to work out. You know, while that might be fine in Chinese fairy tales, in reality, it don't fucking work that way. And we can see it don't work that fucking way because look at how every fucking country that tried legitimate communism ever worked out. I mean, in the 80s and 90s, man, I read a good bit about how shit was in the Soviet Union, especially in the Soviet military, you know, because that was, you know, what we were looking at for the longest time. Like, these are going to be the people you're fighting. This is going to be the system you're fighting. These are the ideas that they adhere to. This is what you got to be ready for. And even then, man, like you would read about, oh yeah, you know, everybody's equal, you know, except, you know, these politicians, they've got a real nice dasha down in, you know, wherever. And, you know, the generals, they're going to have a lot of hot girls working in the office because they want a lot of hot girls that they can just put their dick in whenever they want. And that was understood to be, as I read it, this was pretty much like, this is the normal thing. Like, this is what you can expect. That, like, yeah, these people are going to live pretty nice and you're going to live like shit, and they're going to have a nice car. You're going to have no car. They're going to have a nice house. You're going to have a shitbox apartment. And this was, you know, this is what they're going to try to sell you as equality. But Russians being the way that they are, it's like, you know, I'm not going to fucking throw a fit over it. I'm just going to gut it out and suck it up and do whatever I have to do in the way that they are known for doing. But the way that they tried to kind of implement this was, and you can look, I'm sure you could still find some papers on this. There's academic papers on this that I that I actually referenced during grad school and got my dick slapped over it. That was and don't fucking waste your time and go to grad school. That's not a feather in my cap. That's fucking, I was too stupid to know better. But there are some papers still floating around about this, and the way they tried to float this was through what they called Homo Sovieticus, and that's not like some kind of gay trip. The idea is Homo Sovieticus, the Soviet man. And the idea here was that their belief at the time was that individualism, like personal interest, personal incentive, got instilled in people at too young of an age for them to effectively root it out. So the idea was that we're going to take over literally everything. What you see when you're, when a very young child, what you get taught, what your values are, and very, very early on, you're going to learn that you don't matter. You don't fucking matter. Your interests, your pleasures, your desires, none of that shit is important. What is important is the system, the state, everybody else, the greater good. That is what fucking matters. That is what the Soviet man believes. The Homo Sovieticus. That is his prime directive, is to serve the big machine. Unfortunately, rewiring, thousands, if not millions of generations of evolutionary drive, like I need to stay alive. And when you figure out you can't personally stay alive forever, that's where you start looking at, I need to have kids. I need to look out for my neighborhood. I need to look out for my extended family. And ultimately, I need to look out for my race. That is what you're trying to undo, which, proved to be a lost fucking cause, if you will. And there were a lot of people with a lot of psychological issues, like a lot of struggling that, like, why am I so fucking miserable just for looking out for myself? Yeah, because you got to beat into your head that doing what comes naturally was a bad thing. Instead, just do what comes naturally and you'll naturally feel fine about it, right? But when you look at it, I'm taking a long time to get to the fucking point here, but the point here is that they have not fucking stopped with this effort to get it into your head that you personally don't matter. Everybody else matters. The system matters. The state matters. You don't matter. The underserved matter. And it ain't really that hard. People typically, decent people, I find, don't typically like to blow their own horn so much. But among decent people, intelligent people, they are honestly quick to look at themselves and say, yeah, look, here's where I could have done things a lot better. Here's some of my shortcomings. They're quick to do this. So among otherwise decent, intelligent people, it's not that hard for them to look and find somebody who's less well off than they are. So if you can get it into your head that, like, well, look, man, as long as there's somebody worse off than you got no complaints, and there's more you should be doing. There's more work to do. All right, so that's part of the reason this shit works. But the reason why they keep at it is because it's profitable for them. They don't have to do shit. They can sit back and be the fucking manager of this mechanism. I can be the guy that makes sure it runs efficiently. And, with this great the ungodly responsibility, such a burden, Goy, to make sure you all do your part. Do you know how I suffer? Oh, God, the agony. Right? With all of that shit, they're going to get that nice dacha. They're going to get that hot secretary. They're going to get that good-looking car, and you're going to get fuck all. And you see them doing it the same fucking way. They're marching for equality. They're not marching for, like, hey, asshole, grab onto your strengths and fucking catapult yourself up out of this shit that you live in. No, man, they don't go to them. They go to you. They go to the capable, the successful, and say, hey, you're not doing enough. It's your fault that guy's life is shit. All right, you don't matter. That guy matters. The greater good matters. The suffering worker matters, even if the worker isn't working a fucking day in his life and is just soaking up them gibs. Them gibs, boy. No, they're coming to you, though. And often enough, these people buy it. So you can really think of this as like a fucking cult. The cult that, like, tears a person away from the things that should naturally matter, their family, their people, their close relationships. It takes away their personal identity. It gives them an identity that consists solely and exclusively of the state. And, you can say also that, well, isn't that kind of like where you came from? Yeah, dude, it is. And I'll tell you that again and a fucking again. Like the special ops scene, Yeah, dude, it's a very effective organization, but there is very much a cult-like aspect of it where, like, if you're not towing the line, if you're not doing this shit, well, are you a good operator or are you some shitbag? Maybe you belong out here among Gen Pop, you know? Maybe you belong out there among the regular Joes. Maybe this isn't the right job for you. No, man, I'll do it. I'm a good operator. Come on, man, I want to be in the club. All right, there's a component of that. I'll fucking admit that. But this thing of like, oh no, you don't matter, you know, you don't deserve any kind of accolades, you don't deserve any benefit for the shit you do. No, man, that's the deep dark cult material. This kind of behavior where like set yourself on fire, throw yourself on the barbed wire, throw yourself on the gears of the machine. This is all stuff that you have that you've heard before. These are all Marxist talking points, traditional Marxist talking points. Throwing yourself on the gears of the machine. That's all that guy is doing. Just doing it for some attention. So no, it's not some pish-posh, Willis, what a silly fucked up man. No, this guy is a fucking true believer. Was a true believer. Now he's a truly crispy believer, but this guy's a true believer. And he's walking it like he was talking it. You can't take that away from the guy. But the really good point that I heard come out of this constitutionalist guy podcast was, long and short, if he's willing to do this to himself, what is he willing to do to you? And while this guy is gone, there's more of them out there. All right, this guy is just a foot soldier. So while we could laugh at how fucking stupid they are, I mean, this is just like laughing at people who, you know, drink the fucking Kool-Aid or fucking shoot themselves thinking they're going to get beamed up by a spaceship or some crazy shit. It doesn't matter so much that we see that it's fucking silly, or that we think that their belief system or their political ideology is fucking wacky. What really matters is that they fucking believe this shit. And this shit working to their satisfaction depends on destroying the society you live in. Makes sense? So in that sense, I would say, yeah, dude, take the shit seriously. Take these motherfuckers seriously. But do feel free to fuck, you know, when you see them in public, man, call these motherfuckers out for how stupid this shit is. So in other news, Dark Brandon gave his State of the Union speech last night, and apparently it was like, you know, the over and under was measured in minutes as to whether this guy was going to be able to get through it without shitting his pants or talking about a guy that he shanked back in the hood or some kind of crazy thing. But as it appears, they had this guy juiced up on enough stuff where he got through it. But, you know, and I don't know, like, I ain't your medical, pharmaceutical, you know, geriatric guy or nothing, but apparently whatever they had this guy on, man, it just made him mean. And this guy got all spun up, and he's up there, he's doing like Dark Brandon, like Darkest Brandon, and he's talking about, like, you know, more of the same with like the Russia thing, and just going at, you know, like really going at, you know, like the Trump scene and everything. I ain't your Trump guy, but I heard a take that, like, you know, especially in a time of war, a president should be the one uniting his own country, not dividing his own country. And here's this fucking guy just going at it with both fists. And I had read a little commentary by a guy who had worked in, you know, I don't know what, geriatric medicine or geriatric psych or some kind of a thing. And he's talking about, you know, when some people get older and the dementia starts kicking in, or especially like with Alzheimer's, you know, they'll get angry. Like, they get angry because they're focusing really hard and they're trying their damnedest, you know, to keep focused and to keep the lights on and to focus on what they're doing. And anger is just the way that it manifests, you know, when they're putting up this much of a fight, if you will. And I mean, dude, again, like, obviously I ain't your Joe Biden guy. For my money though, that guy's long gone. I mean, the Joe Biden, like, he's a shell of a man. He's just kind of powered by narratives and notes and pharmaceuticals at this point. You know, if you look at it, I mean, that's all it is. Like, this guy is just running on pure frustration, just trying to keep fucking focused on what's going on. And anyway, this guy who had you know, worked in geriatric medicine a while, I guess, is talking about, you know, to somebody who's worked in the profession, take a look at the guy. Like, his skin color is all yellowish and shitty and pasty, and he's looking around the room. He like, you know, and I don't really notice. I guess I kind of notice if I go back and watch. But he's talking about, like, you look and you notice, like, the little blips where he's talking And then he forgets, like, it's not the what he says, it's the spaces between. Yeah, so he's talking and like, wait, what the fuck was I talking about? And then did it. Oh yeah, and then another thing, and then it's like those little spaces. He's like, yeah, this is, you could tell they got this guy jacked up on some kind of, and he's suggesting a combination, like a light upper, like an amphetamine, plus he's saying steroids. I don't know from that. I mean, that could account for like the angriness, man. Like, yeah, like whatever you fucking do, don't put me on that shit if I start going around the bend. Like, got another, I'll fucking kick your ass too. But yeah, I guess everybody was talking about, it was basically Mark 1 motto, pretty much what you'd expect from a State of the Union. And it was, he made a comment early on that like, yeah, no, if I was smart, I'd just go home right now. And, like some of the commentary was like, yeah, this is actually the message leaking out is that if I was smart, I just would stop talking now and we could all just go home and forget about this whole fucking thing, because this is not a good idea for me to be up here talking. As for how this plays out down the road, if this guy were to get up there for a debate, I mean, I don't know how much gas the guy's got in the tank. I mean, I don't know if you got to juice him that fucking hard just to get him to not fumble fuck over his words. I mean, how are you going to keep this guy coherent for 2 hours, 3 hours? I don't see how it works. Maybe it does. Who the fuck knows? I don't know, man. The miracles of modern crank or whatever. But as it applies to the rest of his, I don't know what you call it, presidency. I don't think anybody anywhere thinks this guy's actually calling any shots. He did keep humping the Ukraine thing. Like, we're not going to turn our back on Ukraine. We're not going to turn our back on Ukraine. But, the underlying message, I think, is that, yeah, we're very much going to turn our back on Ukraine. It's kind of like that hooker at the bar that's like, I'm not going home with you. I'm not going home with you. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. All right. But kind of the indicator there is that they say Victoria Nuland retired, and I don't know, she don't strike me as the retiring type. She strikes me as the ever-grasping, grappling type. Like, yeah, I'm going to keep hustling, I'm going to keep taking these shekels for as long as the shekels keep being out there. But Victoria Nuland, long time, I guess, deputy of State Department, not completely sure on her exact title. All I really know for sure is like she's the Hebrews' right hand, especially where Ukraine is concerned. And there was a phone call that got leaked a couple years ago. Now they had it on FTN, like no shit, played a copy of it. And it's Victoria Nuland and Jeffrey Pyatt, both Hebrews, both in the employ of Chris Miller, Secretary of State. And they're talking about exactly who is going to fill what role in the Ukrainian government. So long and short, man, I mean, what we kind of suspected anyway was that the Ukrainian government is on the end of them puppet strings for the U.S., but in the broader sense for these Hebrews. And her stepping down pretty much indicates, I think is about as clearly as you could hope for, that they're going to be stepping away from this Ukraine project. People have been talking about, like, we got some big surprises for Russia on the battlefield. Oh, yeah. And it's like, okay, fucking surprises. The suggestion there, they're talking about maybe drones is one idea floating around. Maybe, I don't know. People have been talking about maybe the U.S. has a hypersonic capability that just hasn't been revealed yet. I just don't fucking know, man. I don't know what they could, like, what would you wheel out at this late date? And I mean, wheeling it out, I think would, let's assume like they do wheel out some kind of a thing that's like, holy shit, man, this is an absolute game changer, like super hyper accurate hypersonic fucking missiles that come a dime a dozen that Russia absolutely cannot stop, and they just start fucking hammering every fucking target, like they're nailing downtown Moscow. They're nailing St. Petersburg, for God's sake, from all the way over there. They're fucking destroying anything and everything with a Russian flag on it. Okay, cool. But now the next question is going to be, wait a minute, if you assholes had this capability this whole time, like, why did thousands and thousands and thousands of Ukrainian men, white European men, have to die before you decided to wheel this out? Was, dead white Europeans part of the formula here? Was that, kind of a little part of what you were aiming for? I think that's a fair question. And that's all very hypothetical, because the other side of this is that you don't have shit. you're fucking bluffing like you've always been bluffing, and you're just gonna fucking dick dance until Russia rolls through Kiev, and then hopefully, by that time it'll be on to the next fuck around, which is kind of indicated, I think, by the guy that they have brought in to replace Victoria Nuland. Well, presumably to replace Victoria Nuland, and that is, I think the guy's name is John Bass. So this guy was a former ambassador to Turkey, and I think it was ambassador to Afghanistan, but was front and center during the whole fucked up Afghanistan withdrawal thing. So to kind of preempt, though, a little bit, my focus is not like how fucked up the Afghanistan withdrawal thing was, because for my money, the Afghanistan withdrawal was always going to be fucked up. I think it's like breaking up with a stripper, long and short, man. There's going to be somebody in the driveway. Things are going to be getting thrown. Somebody's going to be chasing a car, whether it's her stealing your car or her chasing your car, throwing her stripper shoes at it and asking you to come back with her stack of singles. It's going to end fucking ugly. Probably somebody's going to be getting shot at. The cops are going to have to show up. It's not going to be pretty. Like, there's not a way that you get out of this thing unscathed, right? So the Afghanistan thing, I mean, dude, every country has been through, every fucking major empire, I should say, has been through Afghanistan since fucking Alexander the Great, all right? Fucking Greeks, Romans, the Mongolians twice, the Russians twice, the English twice. Fucking everybody's been through there, man. And the fucking Indians, whatever the fuck they were called, like whatever these northern Indian characters, not Pakistanis, they don't really do things. But the Mughal Empire, some kind of thing, they've been through there. Everybody's been through there, and the rub is they're just like, whatever, and then they shoot you when they get a chance. So, like, there's no way that was ever going to end well. However, that doesn't mean that they can't strong arm a guy and be like, hey, shithead, this was actually your fault, the way that whole Afghanistan thing went down. So get your ass in here. You're going to make amends for everything that went wrong. And okay, I'm sorry, if I can get back in the graces of Big Tiny Hat, then yeah, I'm your guy. But what I think it kind of draws attention to is that, and you know what, I should do it justice and like look into this Bass character and see like exactly what his deal is, like what is his background, like what is his tribal affiliation? Is he a friend of ours, a friend of yours, someone that we know, whatever? Just get in there and take a look. But I don't know, the details on that. I'll have to, stay tuned for further. But I think it does kind of allude to where the attention is shifting. And I think somebody with experience in Afghanistan/Turkey, if you wanted to focus on a spot that's like you can jump over to Russia if you need to, you have someone with connections, you could shift to a greater focus in the Middle East if you need to, you'll have those connections. I think this would be the right guy for the gig. I did notice that like this is a guy that appears to have no real experience like in Southeast Asia. So like where you would need somebody to generate relationships or to foster further relationships with like a Japan or with a South Korea or with a Taiwan for certain, if you were looking to, how are we going to handle this China thing? I would think somebody with experience in that arena would be the guy that you want. And, in fairness, I don't know what kind of people they have that already have that level of experience. But from everything I've seen, I mean, it doesn't really look like, our man in Southeast Asia, our man in Hong Kong, our man in Tokyo. Like, it doesn't really come across that way. Like, the impression that I get is like, yeah, we'll fly fucking Lloyd Buckwheat Austin out to, the South Pacific and let him, whatever, go to lunch and nod his fucking head and see if we can get some kind of positive results. I don't know that we really have somebody that is, I'm saying we, like I got a horse in this race or something. But as, the flexing of U.S. interests goes, I don't know that we really have somebody that has a solid set of eyes on Southeast Asia. So I don't know then if it was me making the bets, I would look, for greater escalation primarily around the Middle East, with the Israel thing, because dude, they're rolling into fucking Lebanon, like they're hitting fucking Lebanon, and now they're talking about March 15th, notionally, there's like, one Jew doesn't know, 2 Jews, 5 opinions, right? But something that's been going around is March 15th deadline. We got to have something worked out with Lebanon. Otherwise, we're going to roll heavy. I hope they fucking do, man, because I honestly hope that Hezbollah lets them have it both fucking barrels. Because that's going to be a whole nother fucking front, and these motherfuckers aren't going to know to shit or go sailing. So, fingers fucking crossed on that. But, yeah, anyways, man, if I was a betting man, and I am, that's kind of where I would put my money, the direction a lot of this time, money, and effort might be starting to focus. Moving on, man, kind of moving on from the big picture shit. Something I wanted to hit on, well, I don't know, man. I'll tell you like a little personal story that came up that kind of, relates to a larger thing, sort of applies to us, and then a little bit of a white pill. So, like, it's been a real motherfucker of a couple of months. Like I told you about the dude that I know, that got a basically like worse than cancer life sentence kind of a deal. Like, yeah, here you go, you're fucked. And that's a really fucking shitty situation. And then just a couple days ago, not a few days ago, man, I was coming off of this last trip that I was on, and I got a text message that like, hey man, remember this guy from back in the day? And I'm like, yeah, I remember him. Like, yeah, he killed himself the other day. So another dude that I knew punched his own ticket just a few days ago. And like in a lot of ways, man, it's like I was saying, dude, like with the cult thing, like the special operations thing, or any of these things where your own identity can become very, very heavily dependent on how you see yourself as part of this or that group or this or that organization. I mean, even our thing, man, if somebody was like, you know what, bro, you fucking glow, bro. I just don't like your style. I don't like the cut of your jib. I want you to fuck out of here. Like, I could see if a guy didn't have anything else going, but he was like, really putting his back into it, I could see being like, man, that's a real fucking bummer. Like, that would eat at a guy. But, this thing is the same thing. This guy, we had done some work together, and after I had rotated back, this guy stayed on, him and another guy, and I guess they got a good amount of work, and then he ended up getting out right after that. And I don't know, like I lost touch with the guy, so I don't know if it was like he was doing that shit and it just didn't sit right with him, or just he got a better opportunity somewhere or some kind of shit. But this guy got out, and I guess he had done some contract work, and then like the story I heard at first was like, oh yeah, he got out and he was doing some contract work, and then he got into drugs. I'm like, wow, that fucking sucks. All right, damn, sorry about that. I got wrapped up with some other shit, and now I'm back rolling hard, and of course it started to rain. In any case, so this guy gets out of the military and does some contract work, and then breaks away, and I guess the last I had heard was he was doing some construction down in Arizona. People that did stay in touch with him said that he had a drug issue. So, when you put, construction in Arizona together, then, it's not a real piece of rocket surgery to figure out, like, yeah, this guy was probably, doing meth or some kind of thing. But then I hear a little more, and I hear, oh, no, he was actually using this shit kratom, which I thought was a gag, dude. I thought it was just like an internet joke or some shit, but apparently this shit is a real thing. And this kratom shit apparently is it's taken from some tree in Southeast Asia, and it's got like an opioid effect, like it binds and sort of functions in the same way as an opioid, but it also produces a stimulant effect, which I guess some dudes use it for working out, or that's what I remembered reading. Apparently it could also give you some depression issues as well. So it kind of makes me feel bad, because this particular guy was like, he was not too bright, but in the same way like a lot of guys you meet in that community are. Like, he was, when I knew him, he was a young dude, he was in real good shape, but he was one of these dudes that was like particularly concerned with the aesthetics, if you will, of his physique. So this dude was always like, back when they came out with, dude, what was it called? Fucking, like Xenadrin and this kind of shit. And he'd take that shit and get all cranked up and all fucking sketchy. But he wanted that six-pack, man. He wanted that real tight six-pack. And he just wasn't that sharp of a guy, but he was a pretty motherfucker. And he was always looking for a chance to take his shirt off, So, like, anything you were doing, man. Like, hey fellas, it's a little hot out here, ain't it? You know, or like you're whatever, at a family picnic and somebody's got an 18-year-old daughter there or some kind of thing. Boy, it's warm out here. Well, look at the stain on the back of my shirt. Here, let me take it off and show you. Just always some kind of shit like this. Like, very sketchy. But this guy got a little older than I guess, got away from that and got into construction. I mean, I didn't see a picture of the guy or nothing. I don't know what he was up to, but I did hear from some people that he went down to Mexico and did that ibogaine fucking treatment. And if you hadn't heard of that, man, it's this deal where the VA basically pays to send you to Mexico, which right out of the gate should be an indicator that this might be like the grandmaster of all fuck up stupid ideas. Pays to send you to Mexico, and then you do this fucking spirit animal get high fucking trip. And I don't know how long it's supposed to last. Right? Some dudes, I think they were talking about like a few hours. But you get all fucked up, and the literature that's out there, and the guys that pimp this, because I know more than a few guys that have done this thing, and there are guys that pimp it, and they'll talk about like, yeah, bro, it like rewires your brain, bro, and it makes you sort of work through some of your issues, bro, and you talk to your younger self, and you remember things that you forgot, and all this kind of shit, and some dudes, you know, they talk about this thing, and they talk about it like they're really hip to it. One guy I talked to a guy at a fucking funeral, and he was telling me about this shit, and he's like, yeah, bro, I took this, and all I could say is like, it's all real, bro. Like everything you heard, bro, God, bro, angels, bro, all this shit. And I'm like, fuck off, you know. And I'll tell you this, man, I did read some other articles on this treatment, and there's talk about use of it for treating really hardcore substance abuse, and I don't know exactly what it does or how it does it, and probably if they're sending you to Mexico, neither does anybody else, right? But they're talking about like, yeah, this shit rewires your brain in some kind of way and gives you a chance to come off of, you know, heroin or whatever the fuck you're hooked on. As it applies to guys with traumatic experiences or working through some shit, as they say. You know, if you're a dude that's in that situation and you want to take a crack at it, you go right ahead. I'm not going to like poo-poo it if you're on your last legs and you're in bad shape and you need some help and you don't know what the fuck else to do. Me personally, and this is me personally, I say fuck off to all that kind of shit for a couple of different reasons. One is that when you tell me like this shit's gonna rewire your brain, man, that's like telling me that like, yeah, this is gonna completely rework the way your computer functions. Like, I ain't no fucking computer genius, but I know better than to get into those fucking obscure folders, you know, in the fucking functioning section. Like, how does this thing fucking work? I know to not go in there and fuck around. Alright, because I know if I fuck with things, that this thing is never gonna fucking work properly again. And I'll try to go on there and find some kind of shit. It makes it run smoother, faster. It optimizes the XYZ function. You go and start adding things, taking things away, shit's gonna get fucked up in a hurry. I know that about computers, so I'm not gonna roll the dice with my fucking brain. Alright? Two, this deal of like helps you work through some shit. Now here's the particular axe I got to grind with that. Well, actually, first let me say this instead. I had mentioned this a while back, a few episodes like way back when, you know, talking about, I had heard something about this particular issue, and it reminded me of something that I heard from Spectre, a la the Third Rail, and this guy, I guess, had some medical experience as well, and he was talking about, you know, a lot of this stuff you hear people talk about, these psychedelics and their magical experience, their mystical experience, that shit is only in your head. Alright? All of that shit is happening between your own fucking ears. None of that shit is happening in the real world. None of that shit has anything to do with anybody else. You talking about some realization that you made, some wrong that got made right, something you realized about a greater sense of fucking reality. That's no fucking different than you coming around talking about a fucking dream you had. All that shit is only happening to you. And so, to me, here's why that matters. And You know, and if it is you and you're so wrapped tight in your own head, you're like, bro, I gotta try something. Then again, man, by all means, do what you gotta fucking do. But to me, I ain't in that tight of a spot. I mean, I ain't really in a tight spot at all. I'm just an asshole. But to me, you know, if you've got an axe to grind, this is just my 2 cents again. If you've got an axe to grind, why not grind it with the motherfucker who done you wrong? You know? Why not come to terms with that? And here's what I mean, man. Let me kind of like segue this with a little bit of another sort of a story that, like I had mentioned before, that I said I would talk about before. So this thing with operators and strippers, and motherfuckers can try to, you know, I don't know any operator that would say it's not the case, but I would imagine there's somebody that would say, oh, I don't know, that doesn't sound realistic. Dude, it is 1,000% realistic. There is this thing between operators and strippers that you put them in a fucking room, they click like fucking puzzle pieces. I've been around the world fucking twice, and like I had said before, like a lot of places that I've worked, there is nothing fucking open by the time I get done working, so your options are going to be 7-Eleven or the strip bar with fucking chicken fingers. Alright, I've eaten at a lot of fucking strip bars. And I ain't gonna bullshit, man. Like, I'll go to strip bars for kicks. Not now, it's not really my cup of tea. I mean, I've gotten away from that since I've gotten into our thing. But it is still a scene, and when I was an operator, there's very much a thing that, like, you go in there, it's like you're stepping into a friend's house. There's all these broads up there, they're shaking their asses, and all that's well and good, and you get your drink on, that's well and good. But there's this thing, and a lot of us refer to it as the land of broken toys. And it really fucking is, because what you come to figure out after you're in the scene for a little while, after you're an operator for a little while, you kind of come to grips with this idea that, like, you're not here because things have gone well for you. All right, there are a lot of guys that get into the community, and probably more so now, that are elite level athletes, that are guys who really have their shit together, who are guys who are really, really patriotic and are willing to go that extra mile. I applaud those guys, and if communities are going that way, then again, hats off, and I'm glad the improvement is there. I will say, abso-fucking-lutely, it was not like that when I was there, dude. And the guys that brought me up, the guys that were there, trained me, like, when I was coming in, a lot of these people were not just bad people, a lot of these were like outright fucking criminals. And a lot of the older guys that stuck around, like from way back when I came in, I mean, guys that were looking at like 30 years when I was still a younger guy, these guys were talking about the dudes who brought them up, and these people were not kind of like criminals. These were not kind of rough people. These were genuinely like bad fucking people. These were people who were out to hurt other people in any fucking way they could. They're gonna hurt other people, they're gonna hurt themselves, they're just about the fucking hurt, dude. Guys would fucking, I mean, goddamn, dude, like, guys would drink their asses off, guys would get fucked up and go out in town, like, looking to fight. The Drink, Fight, Fuck Club. You know, that's no fucking joke. Like, these were bad fucking people. And I think part of what these guys are talking about, you know, with this, like, yeah, you gotta come to terms with some things, work through some things. Whatever it is that brought you into that scene, a lot of times that's the shit that you gotta iron out in the first place. Alright? Because there's something, like, there's some fucking missing piece. And the way that I put it to some guys was nobody in their right fucking mind takes the beating that you take in special operations training courses on the off chance. Because, like, just because you take a fucking beating, you could take a beating for a fucking year, and it doesn't mean shit. You still don't have this job. Like, you could still get shit canned out of this real fucking easy. But nobody takes that kind of a beating for that kind of a timeline on the off chance of getting a dangerous, low-paying job. You know, I mean, if you were looking at, like, I don't know, playing pro ball and you got a multi-million-dollar contract on the line, all right, take a beating. If you're out there looking for fucking King Solomon's gold and you gotta brave the fucking cannibal-infested jungles, all right, take a beating. But when you're gonna make fuck all, you're gonna destroy your fucking body, you're gonna spend a bunch of time with no women, with no other reasonable people, you're gonna spend a bunch of time with a bunch of other guys who are arguably just as bad off or worse off than you are. what the fuck is going on exactly, right? Because don't tell me it's for fucking patriotism. This country fucking hates you, all right? The country's fucking falling apart as we speak. The people in it don't like you. They don't look anything like you. The people that run this fucking thing are not in any way, shape, or form looking out for your fucking interests. So what exactly are you here for, man? So when you put guys like this into a room with strippers, you get this very, I want to say interesting, it's not interesting, it's more like tragic fucking dynamic. And what I mean is that after talking to enough of these women, it's not by any stretch what you think. You know, you talk to enough of them, you start getting their little stories and shit, and you get a very different picture of who these people are. You know, on the outside, you'd think that walking into the place that these are women that are like, they happen to be good looking and maybe they already have a substance abuse problem, or they're just sex addicts or some kind of thing, or they just want like a quick path to money. Really, none of that is the case, man. I mean, strippers make a lot of fucking money. Like, a lot of them can. There's like that natural selection kind of thing where like the fat ones will become thin because in time you'll fucking starve and now you'll become skinny and maybe you get more money and things balance out. But a lot of them do make a good piece of money, and a lot of them do end up with substance abuse issues, and whether that's before or after some of the other shit they get involved in comes into play, I mean, that's anyone's guess, and I'm sure the fucking number of answers are as wide as the number of women getting naked for $1. But what you do hear again and again and again is these fucked up stories of like, yeah, my folks got divorced, I lived with my mom, my stepdad molested me, or my parents died and I lived with this guy, or I left home at whatever age, or I got kicked out and I traveled cross country and I shacked up with this dude who, you know, he treated me wrong, or this kind of shit. And I ain't trying to do no kind of thing of like, this is some man's fault. I'm not doing that shit by a stretch, dude. I'm talking about like just the fucking nature of that situation. That looking at these fucking women, what they see themselves as is, this is what I'm good for. I'm good enough looking. I'm willing to spread my legs for $1. This is what I'm good for. This is what I'll do. And in a lot of ways, I fucking deserve it. That's kind of this vibe. Like, there's a definite anger to it. Like, I'll fucking show me. And dude, I think that probably sums it up really. I mean, between operators and strippers, is there is this fucking degree of I'll fucking show me. And if you've ever done this kind of shit, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then good for you, man. You're not fucking missing anything. But like deals where, I mean, I remember specifically doing this kind of shit at the end of a night. Like the boys that go out drinking, and you're in there and you're in the fucking spirit world, and you're like, fuck, man, everything is just fucked. Everything fucking sucks. I just got to go home and go to fucking sleep and wake up and go to fucking work, and fuck this, and I hate this job. I hate my life. And now I'm half in the fucking bag, and I'm going to be hungover, and this cost me $100 fucking bucks or whatever, you know, it cost you to get a hangover, and I'm going to wake up with a fucking headache, and now I got to go buy a fucking club sandwich because I'm going to feel like shit, and I'll fucking show me. And then you order a shot of like Yukon Jack. That was like my I'll show me go-to. I'll fucking show me. Give me that. Give me a shot of fucking Yukon Jack. And they're like, what are you fucking doing? I'm like, just shut up and pour the goddamn drink, you know? And you know, after a little while, like, you know, when you do finally take a chance to step back and look at it, and you're like, who the fuck you so angry at, man? Why are you taking this shit out on yourself? You know, because I think there is a component of like, you know, you're older and smarter now, and you can look back and like, well, what is the situation, man? What did you misunderstand? What did somebody do to do you wrong, man? And I mean, as an operator, I mean, and I'm sure, again, like, the stories are as varied as the number of dudes who, you know, don't wear underwear. But to me, it was like, yeah, dude, fucking America, bro. Like, I was like a patriotic motherfucker. And I looked at the shit and I was like, yeah, there's fucking, you know, there's threats out there. And you say you need guys, you need fucking capable young men. I'm capable as fuck, dude. I'll fucking sign up for this shit. Oh, it's hard? Yeah, let me show you how fucking capable I am. Let me fucking make the effort. I'll go the extra mile. I'll do what has to be done. I'll show motherfuckers that, like, yeah, dude, I'm fucking something to emulate. I'm fucking here to help. And then you get in there and it's like, thanks for coming, dipshit. I'm gonna fucking ride you like a free fucking horse. And I will fucking tell you, man, and I don't know if some guys might say they had a different experience. Some guys might be knowingly lying to themselves. Probably a lot of guys, I mean, obviously, like, minority dudes will say, oh no, I had a great time in the military. Fucking A right, you did. You did whatever you wanted to do and got pushed to the front of every line. But for dudes like me, and definitely coming from that community, I would say that a lot of guys probably came away with like, fuck, man, what did I do to myself? And there's probably, I think, this tendency to blame yourself from the perspective of an older guy who knows what's what, who understands what you understand, but you can't fucking do that. Like, you got to look back and think of like, yeah, but what did you know when you were fucking 18, 19, 20 and you signed up for this bullshit? Did you know or understand any fucking thing? Like, you probably didn't know shit. And somebody tells you something and you just naturally believe it. Like, you believe this motherfucker in uniform is telling you, like, yeah, your country needs you. You believe the fucking ad. And why would you not, man? They've been selling you this shit since you could walk. Fucking greatest country in the world. All this shit. They've been telling you this shit since you could fucking walk. So why would these people lie to you? And then you look back and you ask yourself, like, well, maybe I was the problem. Maybe I am the problem if you're still in. You start questioning your own decisions and what could I do better? What could I have done better? What more could I have given? And I think that really is kind of the giveaway that, like, what more could I have done? You know, like that JFK shit, man. Like, don't ask what they could do for you. Ask what you could do for them. And all of us have been doing that and saying, like, what more could I have done? What more could I have offered? You know, how many, you know, slip-ups or half-assed efforts did I give where I could have really stepped it up and done something? You know, for a guy that is willing to go to those lengths, and honestly, just like you motherfuckers in this thing, dude, you're facing uphill opposition, but you're still willing to look at it and say, what more can I do? What more can I give? What more can I give to my people? They'll call you a motherfucker. They'll call you, you know, you're the worst fucking thing. You're the problem with this country. Everything bad here is you. I'll take some unknown, unwashed, dirty, fucking dirt-walking motherfucker from the other side of the planet with maybe 2 or 3 rapes under his belt. I'll take him instead of you. I'll take refugees over racists any day. They'll say that shit to you. And yet you ask, what more can I do for you? Just like we give them slack, you know, just like us in our thing, we give those people slack and we say, you know, you don't know any better, man. You've only heard what you've been told since fucking grade school. You only know what you see on TV. You only believe what you're not scared to disbelieve. I'll give you the slack, dude. We got to be willing to give ourselves the same slack in that sense. Whether you're a guy in this thing and, you know, maybe you got some shit to contend with, or, you know, for guys coming out of the military with shit to contend with, you know, like, what the fuck did I do to myself? You got to be willing to give yourself that same slack that, like, man, when I made this choice, when I started down this road, not only did I not know shit, I was actively being deceived. I was being fucking tricked. I was being fucking lied to. And not even like just a little bit misled. Like, oh, I said you get days off. You know, you got a couple days off and that's it. Haha, like I kind of greased you a little bit. No, like you were actively fucked over. As in, like, I'm going to send you into a fucking meat grinder. I'm going to pay you shit if you get fucked up. And they'll tell you, like, oh yeah, you know, if you get fucked up, don't worry because we're going to take care of you. But surprise, surprise, we're not going to actually give you much of anything. We'll give you a little bit for that broke thing, but now you're less of a man, so we're going to pay you even a little less on top of that. And by the time the check comes due, you're sitting there staring at like fucking minimum wage, like, goddamn, dude, I thought you said you were going to take care of me. Nope, sorry, tricked you, fuck off, all right? So kind of circling on back then, man. So like, you see these broads, just like on Instagram, man, these broads willing to get naked for fucking likes, dude. There's something fucking broken in there. There's some other fucking thing at issue there. Instead of taking it out on yourself, yeah, like just trashing your life, trashing your body, or instead of taking it out on yourself as a dude and like blaming yourself or saying, what more can I do? Maybe you start thinking a little bit more about the motherfuckers who done you wrong. All right? Because for my money, that is honestly what a lot of this shit is pointed at. Is that, hey, just, you know, I know we fucked you over a little bit, but instead of getting mad, why don't you go down to Mexico and get high, and then you'll feel all right with it. You'll be okay with what I done to you while I go right back out here and I bang up the next 18-year-old motherfucker coming down the pipe. All right? And guys do come away, a lot of guys, I guess, come away feeling all right with it. I've talked to a few guys that are like, yeah, bro, like they total fucking hippies. And it's, what fucking sucks is one of the guys that pimped it the hardest to me, this fucking guy, he died of a heart attack probably 8 or 9 months ago. Like, he was already kind of a heavy motherfucker. And he was a pretty aggressive dude. Like, he was, I mean, like that weird kind of aggressive, like, bro, just like always kind of looking for some kind of shit to get into. And this dude went down there, did this shit, and this poor motherfucker, like, this fucking guy had a wild fucking ride, man. I'm trying not to get too far into details. Like, this guy had a breaching charge go off in his fucking face. He was, him and his crew were going to drag some fucking, you know, Muhammad X motherfucker out of his house. And they put a breaching charge on the door, and he's going up there to hit it, and as the breaching charge is up and now they're moved back, you know, ready to light this fucking charge and go through the door. As they're doing this, some guy fucking opens the door. Like, some guy like cracks the door open and is like, what the fuck's going on? What is going on up here, you know? So the breacher, the guy in charge of the explosive breach, like, the SOP is like either the one man, the fucking guy in the front, either shoots that guy or makes a call that the breach is compromised, or the fucking breacher just lights it, just fucking hits it, right? Because if you're back, and now somebody opens it, like, if they open that door up way wide, now that and the door opens outward, now that thing could be pointed right back at you, and you don't fucking want that. But so it became this kind of wires crossed situation where, like, this dude didn't call that the door was open, like the guy had opened the door. He didn't, I guess, as I understand it, didn't make the call, but started moving forward, like, to address the guy, which is a mistake. You shouldn't be walking up on a charge that's ready to go. But instead of just snatching the charge, because with those lead wires, a fucking breacher can just wham, just like yank it, and that fucking charge will come off the door a lot of times. Sometimes it'll just fucking stay. But a lot of times the primer, at least, will fucking like pop out of there, and it won't fucking, you know, you won't have to worry about this charge going. But instead, it was like a wires cross deal where the door started to open. This fucking guy pokes his head out, and the one man, the guy I'm talking about, starts moving, like closing on the guy. And at the same time, the breacher lights the fucking charge. Boom! Like, blew this guy up, blew up both of them. Like, the guy that opened the door, like, he went to his fucking virgins, man. But this other guy, like, it fucked him up. So he comes home, goes to the hospital, gets out, goes back. Then he gets into a thing where he fucking, thing we call WrestleMania, where you go in a house and, like, some of these motherfuckers would juice. Like, you go overseas and these fucking guys on targets would get juiced up, and they don't know how to lift. So they're just, like, puffy. Like, they're big and they're stronger. Like, not strong, but they're stronger. And so they want to fuck around. So we call it, like, fucking WrestleMania. Like, what is this shit? Like, you can't shoot them because they're not armed, really. You know, you can hurt them real fucking bad, but if you just smoke them, people are going to have questions. So I guess this guy goes into this little ass room. There's fucking one of these guys in there, one of these Stay Puft motherfuckers. He gets into it, and, like, nobody can really get in there to help him. And now that the guy's, like, beating on him and everybody sees it, like, you could shoot him, but you can't just shoot in there because there's all these motherfuckers, you know. It's a tight little spot. So this guy reaches up, grabs a kitchen appliance, and beats this fucking guy to death with it. Like, just clang, like, bangs his fucking head, and the guy checks out. So, you know, this guy just had a really colorful life, man. And he went down there and he did this fucking hallucinogenic Mexico fucking trip, and comes back, and he's like, I talked to him, and he's like, you know, man, I love you, man. I'm like, okay, good, I love you too, bro. And he's like, no, bro, I love you, dude. I haven't told you, man, I love you. I'm like, you're making it fucking weird. What's wrong with you? And he's like, oh, man, you know, I did that Mexico thing, and it really made me think, bro. And, like, I'm a peace-loving hippie now, bro. I'm like, what is this shit? Yeah, bro, it kind of just gave me a different perspective, you know. And, like, bro, I'm carrying around too much anger. I'm like, well, who the fuck else is going to carry it? You know, what the fuck is it with you? But that guy just, like, he just went to this total, like, laid-back leisure lifestyle, got even fatter than he was before, and died of a heart attack, like, not even a year ago. So I'm like, what the fuck, you know? And now I talk to these other guys, and they say the same shit. They're like, yeah, bro, like, I had a conversation with myself, and da-da-da-da-da. And for my money, man, it's like you're working shit out with yourself. Like, just like if you're a stripper, like you're coming to terms with, like, you're deciding to be okay with, like, the stepdad who butt fucked you or whatever. You know, like it's not cool. It's not cool in my book, man. And what's even weirder, you know, and even if it is just like some kind of a thing with, like, you're just being okay with it, and if that's what you got to do to survive, then do that. But even a step further than that is, like, even if any of these motherfuckers are spot on, and let's just say that this shit is like a window into the fourth dimension, and you're getting eyes on the spirit world, and you're gonna see the fucking machine elves and all this shit, dude, I don't know that those motherfuckers want you looking at them, you know, because I've talked to a bunch of fucking dudes that talk about, like, oh yeah, sometimes, you know, when you do it, you have to fight the demon. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? They're like, yeah, bro, there's a demon. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, there's a demon. Like, there's some demon that's around you, and you're going to have to fucking fight it. And, you know, maybe he shows himself to you or not. And sometimes he'll talk to you. Sometimes he'll try to kill you. Sometimes you got to fight him. And I'm like, I'm not sure I want any part of that shit, you know, because, like, if I got fucking demons, like, one, I don't want them, like, taking an especially focused interest. And so far, I'll say that I've gotten down the road really just fine without having some kind of weird, fucked up spirit world experience. So, you know, where whatever these fucking machine elves or this one-on-one fucking demon situation, and I mean, like, what you say, fight him, like, can I fight him like a Hebrew would fight him? Can I impose economic sanctions? Can I debate him? Can I go in there if I'm a master debater and see how that pans out? You know, anyway, who the fuck knows? This is going to be like this. So this is going to be like the multi-partist of all multi-part episodes. I got to go in here and do some more shit, but I'm going to come back out, and when I reboot here, we're going to have a little bit of a white pill. I've got a white pill for you, and hopefully you'll like it all right. So give me 1 minute. All right, so the last thing I wanted to close with is a white pill. And I mean, with so many black pills, so much bad shit going on out there. I mean, dude, yeah, there is a lot of bad shit going on out there, but I'm going to tell you, there are some bright spots, man. And I feel like if you went like 100 years in the future, you know, everybody looks at all the projections of, like, white people are going to be a minority in every Western country. You know, all this bad shit is happening. You know, if you look at some of these projections, it seems really fucking bad. But I tell you, I feel like if you went 100 years, 150 years into the future, and you look back, like, even if it went horribly fucking wrong, there would still be all these fucking spots between then and now where we could look at it and say, dude, if we would have just grabbed onto this opportunity, if we would have just done a little more, said a little more, pushed a little more, then things would be different. And I look around, man, and I got to tell you, I think there are some things like that out there, and here's what I mean. So, I mean, we've all seen the stats and heard the information about, like, the demographic change, right? The way that you're basically being replaced in the lands that you built, yeah? And we look at the numbers, and we see all these, you know, every major city is majority non-white in the U.S. We see places like London that's now majority non-white, or if it's not majority non-white, it's right there, toes on the edge. And we tend to get real down in the mouth. But let me float this to you. Right now, there are more white people walking around on this planet than there ever has been in all of recorded history, ever. So talking about all the empires, all the achievements, all the great cities, all the great societies, all the great works of art, everything ever fucking done worth a fuck, right, that all those people did has been done with fewer people than we have running around right now. So that means we have more than enough to get by on. And you might say, like, dude, we're so outnumbered. We're awash in brown imbeciles. Two things on that. One, who is behind that? Who is pushing that, right? We know who's pushing it. These tiny hats. These tiny hats have been pushing this programming. But we also know that the truth stands really fucking well on its own. That all of their programming depends on a very, very narrow point of view. That as soon as you introduce anything else, you don't fucking keep it shored up, then it's going to fall apart like a sandcastle. Yeah, I mean, it's like Operation Sandcastle. Like, you can keep humping it, man, and maybe you'll maintain that sandcastle, but eventually it's going to fucking fall apart if you don't stay on top of it. And they've stayed on top of it real well for right about 100 years. But I'm going to tell you what, man, 100 years in a span of history is fucking nothing. And how far behind are they getting on their sandcastle? Here's how fucking far behind they're getting. And kind of, a little bit in contrast to what I was saying earlier, but still a fact. When it's fucking trannies, antifas, faggots, blacks, Hispanics, immigrants, people from all over the fucking globe, Muslims, Nazis, everybody looks at what these Hebrews is doing and says, this is fucked up. What the fuck is going on? This is not fucking cool. And they hear all these wazoo fucking stories. They see this Jonathan Greenblatt talking about, oh, the rapes in the realm, my God. And I just saw something the other day, man, where there's like some woman, some Israeli broad had to get a nose job to fix her self-esteem because she's so fucking Hebrew looking that her Muslim captors wouldn't even touch her. Like, never mind that apparently that's just kind of how they do business. Like, apparently these are people that don't just rape people when they catch them. You tell me. That's what they say, and that's what all these women coming out of there are saying. So I'm inclined to believe what everybody is saying. But this woman came out having to say, like, yeah, I had to get a nose job. I felt so fucked up looking at, like, even when the pussy's free, these guys won't take it, right? Not interested. So the point is, everybody sees what these people are doing. Everybody sees that they're liars and they're bullshitters. And the fucking pigeons are coming home to roost, if you will. Everybody is seeing that, like, yeah, you're a fucking liar. And if you're lying about this, what else have you been lying about? Because what do people say about, do you believe what you see on the news? Shit, no. Do you believe what your government tells you? Shit, no. So how fucking far is it then to start linking these things together? That, like, do you believe what Israel is saying about decapitated babies and gang rapes and what have you? With these hostages. Does anybody believe that? Not really. You believe the government? No. Believe the fucking press? No. How long until they start putting two and two together and going, hey, are any of these people kind of co-mingled? Is any of this stuff kind of run together in the same crowd? How long do you think it's going to take before they start figuring it out? And when literally everybody is saying the same exact thing, even if only half of them say, you know what, I think I see a connection here between these tiny hats and the endless parade of bullshit going on every time I open my door. How fucking long do you think it'll take? Even if it's only half. Imagine every other person you run into is like, yeah, I don't know nothing else, man, but I know that, like, these little hats and these side locks, you gotta fucking go. So with that, man, I would say, I like to be as black-pilled and down in the mouth and is like, man, shit could get real fucked up real fast, and it still can, dude. But I'll also say that there's a whole lot of cards in the deck and there's a whole lot of shit we can do right if we fucking put out. And put out doesn't mean fucking do something fucking zany, doesn't mean do something and get your name on the news. Sure as shit doesn't mean set yourself on fire for the fucking likes like a fucking weirdo. But it does mean get out there, pass the fucking word. Start knocking down these fucking houses of cards. Everybody you fucking talk to, if this shit comes up, and you could just ask, man, well, what about this shit? What about this shit? I mean, how does that pair with this shit over here that I'm seeing that I know for sure is true? Plant those fucking seeds of doubt. And the next thing you know, that kosher house of cards is going to come down like a house of fucking bricks, and there you fucking are. Standing by for Hyperborea. All right? So with that, man, it's been a little bit of a long episode, but like a fucking dunce cap, it took me forever to get it together and get it all on one fucking recording and get it out the door. So, yeah, man, if you dig this shit, you know where you can find it. And I think it's available everywhere a shitty product is placed nowadays. Also, too, it's on the exclusive spot on the Telegram at the Abuse Hour, along with associated chat. If you want to talk some shit, but not too much shit, because, you want to go away, do you? Go away? Is that what you want? Anyway, but until next time, man, that's about as much as I can stand, and I'm sure you've had your fill as well. So until we meet again, keep your eyes on the horizon, keep your neck out of the noose. I've been Coffee. These are my takes.